Now it's time for On Point, where we speak to experts to delve deeper into the biggest news stories in the spotlight right now. From Friday, South Korea will slash fuel taxes by 20% on gasoline, diesel and LPG in a bid to ease the burden on consumers from surging prices at the pump as international oil prices continue to soar.
The lower taxes will remain in effect through April 30th, 2022. The 20% cut is more than double the rate last time the government was forced into making such a move a few years ago. On top of that, inflation in general is rising fast, but salaries remain static and many households are struggling to make ends meet. For more, we connect to Professor Oh Joon-seok from Sookmyung Women's University School of Business. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Now, Professor, how do you evaluate the South Korean government's decision to slash fuel taxes by 20%? And will it be enough to shelter Korea from the worst of the skyrocketing international oil prices?
It couldn't convince people enough yet. The world economy is facing inflationary pressure with the United States and Europe, mainly because of spending money in different names as disaster relief fund, supportive financing for small business, or basic income whatsoever due to COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, there is no free lunch in economics. What is worried at this moment is the pressure of stagflation. Stagflation stems from high and rapid inflation with stagnant growth of economy. It is true that fuel taxes will be temporarily lowered to 20%. This is a bigger break than last time international oil prices spike. Just because oil prices reference cost of production, this tax cut might be inevitable, though not enough. In an effort to calm down the inflationary pressure, commonly known, and we experienced the rising crude oil prices have been fueling inflation. Korea's consumer price have risen more than 2% for each of the last 6 months. The overall price of manufactured goods rose again at 3.4% in September, far exceeding Bank of Korea's target rate of 2%. This is the sharpest increase since May 2012. 3.5% increase at that time. This expectation of inflation will eventually increase interest rate in the very near future, not only in Korea, but around the world. Now comes the time of contraction for global economy to pay the price of spending spree.
Now, the OPEC Plus group has been under an awful lot of pressure from the Biden administration in the US, in particular, to boost oil production, but they're refusing to budge, saying they'd rather keep with their current schedule. Is there anything in your mind the international community can do to make OPEC Plus change course?
Simply speaking, increasing oil production and expanding supply is the best way to curb down the price soaring pressure. It is, however, supposed that chances are slim at this moment for the time being to change the course of OPEC+. Think about it. Without guarantee of demand increase, no supplier would dare to increase production in advance. The United Arab Emirates rejected a coordinated oil production plan for the group, spearheaded by Kingpin Saudi Arabia. As diplomatic gesture of international cooperation, the UAE's baseline for oil production will be raised from 3.16 million barrels to 3.5 million barrels per day. Though short of the 3.8 million, it is reportedly requested from the United States. Saudi Arabia's baseline will be increased from 11 million to 11.5 million barrels per day. The oil price strategy came after the OPEC Plus group of producers decided to maintain its planned output increase. Some economists expect the global energy crunch to propel oil price over $100 a barrel this winter, the highest ever since 2014. In brief, the best solution avoiding global inflation is to propel growth through innovation, value creation, and productivity improvement, but skyrocketing property price and the hike of international price for energy and raw materials are in the way. It seems like a situation that we gather together, keep looking at boiling water in a pot. It will delay the economic recovery due to prolonged COVID-19 crunch.
And also, consumer prices in South Korea are growing at the fastest pace in almost a decade, and it's likely to get worse. And on top of that, the supply chain crisis is causing chaos not just in Korea, but also around the world. So what can policymakers at the Finance Ministry or the Bank of Korea do to get this under control?
Global supply chain has designed originally for maximizing efficiency in the production processes. To make best use of scale economies, a centralization of strategy has made each production process monopolized in one location. It seems like a chain of straight arrows, no other roundabouts in the process. Think about it. Prolonged COVID-19 prompted shutdown of industries around the world. Supply chain bottlenecks, congestions, and blockage in the production system have affected a variety of sectors, services, and goods, ranging from the shortage of electronics, semiconductor chips, and automobiles, and so on. While most of us were in lockdown, there was lower consumer demand and reduced industrial activities. China and Europe are also experiencing growth problems on the back of supply chain issues. Thanks to the rollout of vaccination, now the global economy is slowly start to emerge. But COVID-19 has left one very destructive economic disruption to global supply chain. It is to the point that the policymakers, the government, will take the role of trailblazer of removing this bottleneck by restoring market demand and promoting investment, not to mention of supporting for reformation of global supply chain. In the sense of getting market confidence, Ministry of Finance set up a plan for tapering down inflation pressure. It is very appropriate, and as a necessary condition, it is of great importance for Bank of Korea to keep monitoring the financial market fluctuations, ready to take a quick response to stabilize the capital market volatility and foreign exchange rate as well.
And finally, we don't have much time left, but a lot of people who kind of should know what they're talking about, including the chairman of the Fed, really uncertain where this is all heading. They don't know when prices are going to get back to normal. In regards to inflation, tell us what you think the best and the worst case scenarios are in the coming months.
There are two types of inflation. One is cost push, and the other one is demand pull. Cost push inflation comes from a price increase of a production cost, which will reduce the production and investment as time goes, increase the rate up. This is the worst case scenario. Instead, demand pull inflation starts from the demand increase in the market, temporarily boosting up the consumption for the time being. Even the market will have to pay the price of inflation in later time. Boosting up the market demand depends mainly on people's forecast and expectation of the economy in the future in terms of stability and affordability of their consumption. The best case scenario depends on how to give confidence on market participants such a diverse decision as of consumption, production, and investment getting away of uncertainties.
All right, that was Professor Oh Joon-seok from Sookmyung Women's University School of Business. Thank you, as always, Professor, for your insights.
Thank you for having me.